The sickest medieval weapon ever found. Today, we dive deep into the world of medieval warfare, peeling back the blood-soaked pages of history to uncover the weapons so deadly, so ingeniously brutal, they changed the face of battle forever. And in this journey, we'll reveal one weapon, so devastating it earned a reputation as the sickest medieval weapon ever found. But before we get there, let's set the stage. In the Middle Ages, battle wasn't a matter of distant missiles or silent drones. It was personal. Men faced each other at arm's length, their eyes filled with fury or fear, their hands gripping the crude instruments of death. Each weapon wasn't just a tool, it was a symbol of its wielder's status, skill, and will to survive. The constant challenge of war. For medieval warriors, survival on the battlefield wasn't guaranteed by strength alone. It depended on innovation. Armor grew thicker, shields broader, tactics sharper, but as defense improved, so too did offense. Soldiers faced challenges modern fighters can scarcely imagine. A knight's shining armor could deflect sword strokes and arrows. But what about a weapon that didn't cut or pierce, one that crushed a bone and shattered organs beneath the steel? The medieval arms race was relentless, and from it came some of the most brutal, brilliantly designed weapons in history. The warhammer was one such answer. While swords and spears dominated earlier centuries, the growing prevalence of full-plate armor rendered them less effective. Blades glanced harmlessly off polished steel. But the warhammer was built differently. With a heavy, compact head, sometimes spiked, sometimes blunt, it could deliver devastating blunt force trauma. A direct blow could cave in helmets, break bones, and leave a knight reeling inside his own armor. What made it truly lethal wasn't its weight alone, but how that force was concentrated on a narrow point. Some versions featured a spike on one side, capable of puncturing weak points in armor, slipping between plates, and finding soft flesh beneath. It was a weapon designed for brutal practicality, and it worked as a gift. Capable of punching through mail and plate at ranges over 300 yards. The crossbow was feared not just for its power, but its simplicity. Unlike the longbow, which required years of training and immense physical strength, a crossbow could be mastered by a peasant in days. Its mechanized trigger and winding mechanism allowed soldiers to hold a drawn bolt indefinitely, waiting for the perfect shot. In medieval chronicles, crossbowmen were reviled and outlawed by popes for their ability to kill nobles as easily as common soldiers. One chronicler grimly noted, "No man is safe behind his shield when a crossbowman takes aim." The terror of siege engines on the battlefield. Individual weapons inflicted horror one man at a time, but during sieges, armies wielded weapons of terrifying scale. The trebuchet, a gravity-powered siege engine, could launch 300-pound stones at fortifications, splintering towers and smashing entire squads of defenders in a single strike. More gruesome still, commanders would hurl plague-ridden corpses and diseased animal carcasses into enemy strongholds, sowing panic and death within. Even more monstrous was the siege tower, a mobile fortress taller than castle walls, bristling with archers and soldiers ready to spill over battlements. These massive engines marked a dark turning point in medieval warfare, where death came not only from blade and arrow but from the sky itself. The evolution of the sword. Though perhaps the most iconic weapon of the medieval period, the sword itself evolved constantly to meet the shifting demands of war. Early medieval swords were broad, double-edged weapons designed for slashing unarmored foes. But as armor technology improved, swords became narrower and sharper, optimized for thrusting through gaps in plate and mail. The longsword became a knight's preferred sidearm in the 14th and 15th centuries. Its long reach and versatility in thrusting and cutting gave it an edge in both duels and battlefield skirmishes. Then came the Zweihander, a monstrous two-handed blade nearly 6 feet long, wielded by elite mercenaries known as These warriors charged into enemy formations, their enormous swords cleaving pikes and men alike. It was brute strength made lethal, and yet, none of these compare to the sickest weapon ever unearthed. A weapon so devastatingly cruel, so ingeniously savage, it earned a cursed reputation across Europe's blood-stained fields. We'll reveal that horrifying masterpiece of medieval death in the next chapter of our journey through history, as deadliest battle. As the clash of armies echoed through the valleys of medieval Europe, each new battle presented a cruel dilemma. How do you breach a castle wall? How do you slay a knight clad in iron? How do you survive when the enemy's numbers dwarf your own? The answer was always the same: better, deadlier weapons. And medieval warriors were endlessly creative in devising tools to dominate the battlefield. The morning star, the weapon of nightmares. If there was ever a weapon that embodied medieval brutality, it was the morning star. Imagine a solid iron ball, studded with jagged spikes, attached to a chain and mounted on a sturdy handle. It swung with bone-shattering force. Unlike a sword or axe, The Morning Star didn't need to find a weak point. It crushed through armor, shattered skulls, and mangled limbs. The weapon's unpredictable, swinging motion made it difficult to parry or block. One well-placed blow could end a fight instantly. Variations ranged from one-handed maces to two-handed horrors designed to break lines of infantry. In battle, a formation of soldiers armed with morning stars was a sight to behold and to fear. The battle axe. Weapon of the common man, axes were among the most ancient and versatile weapons in human history. But the battle axe of medieval Europe was a thing of lethal beauty, light enough to wield with one hand, yet powerful enough to cleave through shield and bone. The battle axe was the weapon of choice for many foot soldiers. Its compact design made it ideal for close-quarters combat, where swords were too long and clumsy. Some designs included a spike on the reverse side, allowing the wielder to hook an enemy's shield or helm, dragging them off balance before delivering the killing blow. It was a weapon for the brutal pragmatist, simple, effective, and devastating. Siege crossbows, medieval sniper rifles. If the handheld crossbow was a battlefield terror, the siege crossbow, or ballista, was its monstrous ancestor. These oversized mechanical bows launched massive bolts the size of spears, capable of skewering multiple enemies or penetrating fortress gates. A well-aimed shot could impale a rider through both horse and armor, pinning him to the ground. During sieges, ballistae were used to pick off enemy commanders or disrupt defensive lines from a distance. Though cumbersome, their psychological impact was enormous. Enemy soldiers hesitated at the sight of these massive weapons, knowing one wrong move could end them in an instant. The bec de corbin, death by hammer and spike. The bec de corbin, or raven's beak, was a weapon specifically designed to counter heavy armor. Similar in form to a polearm, it featured a hammerhead for crushing, a curved spike for piercing helmets, and a hook for pulling riders from their saddles. No part of this weapon was wasted. Knights in full plate had once been near invincible, but the bec de corbin changed the game. A blow from its hammer could stun, while the beak-shaped spike found the gaps in armor, the throat, armpits, groin, and back of the knees. It was the perfect tool for dispatching those who believed themselves untouchable. The evolution of shields' offense and defense combined. While we often imagine shields as purely defensive, medieval soldiers knew how to turn them into weapons. Bossed shields, featuring a central metal dome, could be used to punch enemies, while some were studded with spikes along the rim. In close combat, warriors would slam their shields into an opponent's face, breaking teeth and noses before delivering a killing blow. A well-crafted shield could block an axe swing one moment and crush a skull the next. This dual-purpose strategy marked a shift in medieval combat, as even defensive tools became instruments of death. And yet in the arms race of medieval warfare, one weapon rose above all others in reputation for pure, unrestrained savagery. A weapon so terrifying, it became legend. Many thought it mere folklore, a tale told to frighten squires at night, until archaeologists unearthed its rusted remains, confirming that medieval brutality had no limits. The forgotten abomination, the man-catcher. Enter the man-catcher, perhaps the most sinister, humiliating weapon ever wielded on a medieval battlefield. At first glance, it appears almost comical, a long pole, ending in a semicircular metal collar lined with spikes. But in practice, it was a capture and torture device designed to pull men from horseback or hold prisoners helplessly pinned. The spikes would dig into flesh and armor, locking around the victim's neck or torso. Wrenched backwards, a soldier could be dragged through the mud, choking and bleeding, before being hauled off for ransom or execution. While its primary use was capture, many accounts tell of the man-catcher being deliberately driven into a man's throat or groin, the spikes puncturing deep as the victim was violently yanked backward. Even among hardened warriors, this weapon earned a reputation for its cruelty and humiliation. Its discovery in a sunken cache of 14th century weapons sent shivers through the historical community, a morbid reminder of mankind's darkest impulses. And yet, even this wasn't the sickest weapon ever unearthed. That particular nightmare still waits. For centuries, historians believed that they had seen the worst medieval warfare had to offer. War hammers, siege engines, crossbows, and maces, each a brutal innovation in the dance of death. But nothing could prepare them for what lay buried in a forgotten battlefield on the outskirts of a ruined French stronghold. Archaeologists, digging through a mass grave, unearthed a weapon so cruel, so ingeniously savage, that it instantly earned a title whispered through medieval texts. The Hell Scythe, death engine of the bloodfields. The Hell Scythe was unlike any weapon seen before or since. Not merely a scythe repurposed for war, but a purpose-built killing machine, forged for a single, horrific task: harvesting men like wheat on the battlefield. Its design featured a double-bladed, crescent scythe head, curved inward like twin talons. The outer edge was razor-sharp, honed to cut through flesh and bone, while the inner edge was barbed, designed to catch and pull, tearing out sinew and organs with every swing. What made it truly diabolical was the weighted counterbalance at its base. This allowed a single soldier to whirl the weapon in great, sweeping arcs, cutting down multiple opponents in a single pass. In the chaos of battle, where formations pressed close, this weapon transformed its wielder into a whirlwind of death. The battlefield legacy eyewitnesses described its effects as terrifying and unnatural. Limbs severed clean, shields split in two, and torsos opened from hip to shoulder. Its wielder would disappear behind a curtain of gore, only to emerge again drenched in blood, surrounded by the fallen. One surviving account, written by a shaken soldier of the 14th century Company of the Red Fangs, spoke of a mercenary nicknamed the Reaper, who wielded the Hell Scythe at the Battle of Ravengate. According to the record, he carved a path through the enemy ranks, as though they were no more than stalks in a field, each swing cleaving flesh from bone. We saw men cut in half, heads torn from shoulders. None dared approach him. Why it disappeared from history despite its unspeakable effectiveness. The Hell Scythe's reign of terror it proved so devastating and so demoralizing. The commander soon realized it posed as much danger to allies as to enemies. In the press of battle, the wielder could not always discriminate. Friends, foes, horses all were meat before its twin blades. The weapon turned its users into uncontrollable whirlwinds of slaughter. After a handful of battles, where entire units were lost to the rampage of one man with a Hell Scythe, its use was swiftly outlawed by edict. Remaining copies were destroyed, buried, or hidden away, until when archaeologists recovered a single, rusted Hell Scythe from a collapsed weapons cache in 2016. Its existence confirmed what medieval scholars had long debated. The stories were true. A weapon so gruesome, so hellish in its design, that it was erased from official military records for centuries. The psychology of terror weapons. Medieval warfare wasn't solely about killing. It was about breaking spirits, sowing fear, and forcing surrender before a battle was even fought. The Hell Scythe was the ultimate terror weapon. Its appearance on a battlefield heralded impending massacre. Enemy lines buckled at the sight of it. Commanders abandoned tactics. Rank-and-file soldiers fled. In a time before gunpowder, nothing delivered psychological devastation like a man wielding death on a stick. And therein lay its genius. The Hell Scythe wasn't just a weapon of war, it was a weapon of fear. Conclusion: from the savage edges of the warhammer to the impaling cruelty of siege crossbows. From man-catchers to monstrous siege engines, medieval Europe was an era that knew no limits when it came to the art of destruction. Each weapon we've uncovered today speaks to mankind's dark capacity for innovation in the service of slaughter. But the Hell Scythe stands alone, a tool so ferociously savage, so designed to unmake men, that it earned eternal infamy. Its resurrection reminds us of the depths humanity can descend in times of war, and the importance of remembering those lessons as we look to the future. Which of these medieval weapons chilled you the most? Was it the crushing blow of the Morning Star, the precision of the crossbow, or the unstoppable nightmare of the Hell Scythe? Drop your answer in the comments below. And if you hungered for more brutal history like this, smash that like button, subscribe for new videos every week, and join us as we uncover more secrets of the bloodstained past.